Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about letting go, so allowing your manifestation in. What is letting go? Let's talk about how important letting go is and not to be afraid of letting go. And secondly, what observation is. So I did have a comment on a video that I made quite a long time ago, a few months ago, about observation and how when you're observing the current 3D, so you're constantly basically looking for what it is that you are wanting to manifest. You're observing what is now, you're holding it in place. And I refer to this as being an observation thing in quantum, and then somebody said, no, you're describing exactly the opposite of what observation is. Let me just explain. There are two different types of observation. There is observation of somebody's behaviour, which is a phenomena that we behave differently when we know that we're being observed. So it's a phenomena, but actually it's quite obvious that we're going to do that, isn't it? This is why I never watch anything like Gogglebox, because they know that they're being observed and they're being told to watch certain programs. They're not going to behave exactly the same as they would in real life if they didn't know that they were being observed. Of course they're not. So that is one kind of observation. That's not what I'm talking about here. So that is you watch something and it does behave differently. This is something completely different. This is you observe what is, and you have a close eye on it. You're watching it. You're not closing your eyes. So you're not letting go. You're just constantly waiting for this particular outcome that you want. So you're observing what is now, what's going on now. That is a different kind of observation. That is in quantum, and that is something completely different. Somebody put a comment on because I do watch a lot of things about quantum and I read a lot because I'm fascinated by it. And to me, that is this. And somebody had put a comment on one of these videos saying, oh, when your kids are asking, are we nearly there yet? And I'm like, stop quantum freezing the car. And that really made me laugh. And I thought, yeah, and that's what's going on here. So you are quantum freezing the situation. You're holding it in limbo, holding it in stasis because you are observing it and feeling that it's not happening. I hope that explains it properly, and that is my understanding of it, and that is how I work with this being peculiar science. Rather than the law of attraction, it's just peculiar science. So how do we think of that as, how do we look at letting go and how do we look at this phenomena and then sort of equate that with the law of attraction, which is just a made up term. It's just something that's been made up, so you don't have to call it the law of attraction, even though I call it that in my videos and my books and stuff, because I have to sell them and I have to get people to watch my videos. I don't really ever refer to it in my own life as the law of attraction. I just think it's life, and it's weird science. So what's going on is you are holding the situation in limbo by constantly watching it. You have it under a microscope. You are not allowing it to unfold. So there is a particular video online where somebody is firing an arrow and it's being observed, like firing an arrow. So the arrow just goes plop and it keeps going like this. It does never get anywhere. But then you blink, you close your eyes, and the arrow shoots off and hits its target because it's not being observed. So something weird is happening. Where when you're observing something, you're not getting any movement, basically. You can't change the condition of something by constantly observing it. That's the observation I'm talking about here. I'm talking about science observation, not human behaviour. It's a completely different thing. I'm not an expert on human behaviour, so that's not what I'm talking about. So when you are holding on tight to something, that's what you're doing. Imagine that. Imagine the term, remember the term that I said, stop quantum freezing it. Stop quantum freezing your manifestation, say to yourself, when you notice that you're doing that. The first step is to notice it and think, yeah, I'm holding on tightly to this. I'm observing and I have it under a microscope. I'm thinking I'm doing everything right, and then I'm looking for the results. So I am in observation mode. And whilst I'm in observation mode, I'm basically holding on too tightly. And I know that some people say, oh, you're not in alignment. And that is another term, but I don't work with the term alignment. I don't really like it because I just feel that, oh my God, I'm not in alignment. It seems just a big deal to be in alignment, but I get it. It is the same kind of thing. So now let's talk about different kinds of observations. So you could be thinking about this situation a lot, but you could not be in a state of lack. So you're not constantly looking for it. You were thinking about it, and maybe you're enjoying the thinking about it, or you're feeling okay about it. Now that is not what I call observation, because that's a different feeling state. Basically, that is a different energy, and it's the energy that we're looking at here. Everything here is energetic, or everything in life is energetic. So if your energy is basically one of lack and I don't have, you are going to keep seeing that because you are keeping this situation in the way that it is. You are observing it to a point where you are holding it there, basically quantum freezing the situation. So just think of quantum freezing the car. So letting go first comes with I need to let go. You know that you need to let go. You know that if you carry on the same, you will not get a result. So you have to let go. And then you think, well, how the hell am I going to do that? So you think, okay, how can I start doing that? First of all, I start by knowing I need to let go to a point. I need to be at least 50% detached, because then I am balanced. So the more balanced you are, the better it is. When you are balanced, you find you go long periods of time where you aren't looking, you are looking away, you aren't quantum freezing the situation. And that's when it can come in those times. So you need to be balanced. You don't need to be all or nothing. It doesn't need to be everything. You don't need to get rid of that attachment completely. It's probably impossible to do that. And I don't think I ever do completely. But so that you are balanced. So you make that decision first. Once you've made the decision, you are going to feel slightly different anyway, and then you're just going to think that's quite hard. But you've decided to do it because you've decided that enough is enough. You cannot carry on like this. And then you look at ways to continue with that. So when you feel yourself really thinking about something and scrutinizing, why isn't it here? Why isn't it here? You give yourself a switch word. So use a word that snaps you out of it. Before you do this, you instruct your subconscious, when I use this word, and it can be any word, you will stop ruminating, you will stop thinking about the lack of it. So you're giving yourself an instruction. Just bear in mind that we can instruct our subconscious absolutely anything. So you do that to start with, then you use your switch word every time you do it, and you will feel that you will find that you do still keep doing it, but you've decided to do something about it. So there has to be a change, and there will be. And then you'll think, wow, I went like 2 hours and I didn't even think about it. It wasn't in my conscious awareness. And that's what we're looking for. Periods of time when it's not in your conscious awareness. And that's all you're really looking for in order to loosen up on it enough to be in that receiving mode. So that's the first sort of couple of things you can do. You can affirm, but if you're going to affirm, don't affirm for that thing that you want. Affirm to feel better. I feel 50% better than I did last week. I am 50% less attached than I was last week. I feel freer than I did last week. I woke up feeling free this morning, even if you didn't. I say that every morning, every sort of afternoon, I woke up feeling free this morning. I can feel detachment creeping in. Anything that goes with that detachment, not that goes towards your manifestation, because then what you're doing is you're counteracting everything you do with something that's actually stronger, because you really, really want that. It's really, really strong. So if you then continue to affirm for that and then try to detach, it's pretty much impossible. So don't do that. Okay, I am putting up a subliminal, and I might put up a meditation version of the same if some of you can't get on with subliminals, which is releasing attachment, being in receiving mode, getting in that allowing frame of mind. So I think I probably will put it up in both. So it might be a bit confusing, but I will label one meditation, one subliminal, so that you can either go between the both or just pick the one that suits you best. So we have to be in that state of mind in order to allow it in. If we keep looking and we put it under a microscope, the situation now, we are just going to see more of the same. And even if we have a short burst of time where we do let go, which may be 10 minutes or something, and then we get a kind of a spurt of that, what we would consider a sign, or even if it's a text or something like that, you get a message, in that time it will just go again, because then you just go straight back into attachment. So you have to decide once and for all that attachment is just observing reality and observing the situation, putting it under a microscope. That's really all it is. So maybe just stop using the word attachment. I mean, I rarely use it now. Don't call it that. Just say, well, I'm observing. I need to stop observing. It sounds a lot easier than I need to detach. But the subliminals that I've done, the meditation, is based around letting go, feeling free, allowing. So any way that gets you there, isn't it? If that helps you, then brilliant. But the first step is knowing what that attachment actually is. And that is all it is. It's an energy. It's an energy that you're walking around with day in, day out. More often than not, you have this energy of, I don't have it. And then maybe you feel great when you do the visualization and whatever else you do. So you think, well, I'm feeling good. But you're not the majority of the time. Majority of the time, you are observing the situation. You are holding it in stasis. You are just holding it where it is, and purely that is purely with your energy and nothing more complicated than that. So again, come away from the word attachment, call it energy. Oh, my energy is just a bit out of whack. Just be lighter on yourself, because that word attachment is not a great word, because it is, oh my God, I'm attached. And it's just not the best word to use. So, but for the sake of this video, I have to call it that in the title, otherwise you're not going to know what you wouldn't know what I was about to talk about. So I hope that this was useful, and I hope that explained the observer theory, or the observer phenomenon really, in greater detail of what I understand it now. I'm not a quantum expert, of course I'm not, but I read a lot about it. I have for years, even before I was into this. I'm really, really fascinated with it. And I watched a documentary many years ago, a Horizon documentary, about observation, and how means that an atom does not behave the same way when it's observed. It just doesn't. So it more behaves how you kind of expect it to when you are observing it, and then when you look away, you open up all possibilities. That's the key here. When you look away, you open up all possibilities. And I speak to people that their manifestation has started coming to them in the most bizarre way that they could never have imagined that way. So reality has just this bank of ways that it can bring things to you, but if you keep observing, you are just going to hold it as it is, because energetically you are that version of events. Imagine, I'm trying to think of a good way that you can imagine it. So imagine it like this: your manifestation is embarrassed because you're watching it. It's embarrassed and it can't do anything. It's too embarrassed to do the wrong thing. So it's just not doing anything because it's being watched. So you could look at it like the other observation theory. Okay, behavioral thing. It's a behavioral thing. It's being observed. So it's behaving differently. It's behaving than it wants to because it's embarrassed to do anything because you keep watching it. So that's maybe another way of looking at it. So you need to give it that freedom because you're embarrassing it. Stop embarrassing it. Let it get on and do its stuff. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to go on anymore. I don't know where these things come from sometimes. Sometimes I speak to coaching clients and I say something and I think, where the hell did that come from? And it's really out there, but it's really apt to the situation. And I think a lot of the reason I come out with things like this is because when I shoot a video or I talk to a client beforehand, I always want to give the best advice possible, and I want to be as useful as I can. I want people to get value for money, so I sort of say that to myself and go into that zone where I'm connecting to whatever that higher part of me is. And that happens when I write as well. I just have to go into free flow and I can't think about it too much, and that's what happens. That's why I don't really plan my coaching sessions. I do if somebody says, I want to talk about this, this is what my problem is, can we talk about this and this, that's different. But generally I don't plan it because I want to just go with the flow, and I want that advice just to be free flowing and not it needs to be completely bespoke to every single person. If I overthink it, I'll start giving cookie cutter information, and I don't want to do that. And I find that's why I don't ever script these videos. I can't, because I would feel stunted and I wouldn't be able to do it. It needs to just flow from me. And so that's why I come out with these really stupid things sometimes. But to me, they make complete sense. Okay, right. I'm an author. My books are all listed below, all available on Amazon. Mostly based around the law of attraction, apart from one. I'll put one of them up here now, just so that you can see. I think I'll put Pimp Your Vibe up because that's kind of like, I'm selling quite a few of those at the moment, and I don't know how that's happened, but I called it Pimp Your Vibe at the time. Now I talk a lot more about energy, but it's exactly the same thing. So you just look at it. Okay, I've called it vibration because I used to back then. Now I call it energy, but I'm talking about exactly the same thing, how to work with that in order to change your life. And I offer Zoom coaching, email coaching. My Zoom coaching is extremely limited at the moment. I've got so much going on and I'm trying to expand different parts, and I'm doing a course on Teachable, which hasn't launched yet, but will. And it's got a lot of stuff going on, so I have cut right back on that. And plus I do have my regulars, so I always book them in, and then that doesn't leave a lot, but there is some availability before Christmas. But you might find it's much easier for you to get email coaching with me because I have more availability there. And what else do I do? Meditations and subliminals are also available on my website. I've come up with the ones that I feel would best suit you guys and would be the most helpful to you based on conversations I have with my coaching clients and comments I see here on YouTube. And so I come up with a selection. I will add to them eventually when I've got time, but at the moment I just don't have time, but there's quite a few on there. I also offer personalized subliminals. Now, for some reason, I put that on my coaching page, and I don't know why. And because I have to get someone else to do the job, my husband, to get Jeremy to do the job for me to move it, it's still kind of stuck there, and it shouldn't be there. It should be on the subliminals page. I think I probably did it because I did that first and I didn't have the subliminals then. I can't remember why I would have done that, but anyway, that's where it is. So if I do get people going, well, I can't see the personalized subliminals, no, because they're on the wrong page, basically. They're on the coaching page. Okay, thank you so much for watching.